And we are live. No more Godot? Oh no, we're in Godot, don't you worry. We are doing a study. So this is an asset pack that I purchased many eons ago. And it's very interesting, at least in wireframe, because all of this detail is one texture. It's some very clever UV unwrapping. Right, you see every section of this is the same, just flipped, right? So there's mirrored UVs here, rotated UVs here, rotated UVs here, mirrored UVs, and then like there's some really nice kind of collapsing this here. Like if you look at how these are slowly warping, it's still the same texture. It's just the way the UVs are set up. It's very clever, right? Very, very clever. And anyway, all of this, when we're looking at albedo and roughness, is just one texture, right? It's one set of normals, right? One set of, I don't know why like the classic image viewer doesn't browse. Couldn't migrate your data, go away. Eve Online has some nice texturing tech way back when, yeah. So what we're doing, Astron, is we're redoing everything. So this is the new truck stop. Now, ignore how basic this looks. This is gray box, right? But this is final art-ish gray box. Like this is encompassing everything I've learned so far that, you know, has everything from the loading and unloading, you know, panels, to the way things are stored, right? To the way, you know, you observe ships, to right, just the modularity of everything, right? Like the a more unified, you know, commerce area, right? Just ignore the, you know, like the, you know, missing things. That doesn't really matter. It was using like each channel for different things, and the final color was based on masks. Nice. Yep. Right, and then we have enough room here to have like a hallway through the center, and have like, you know, a little bit more refined, you know, systems is the idea. So we get rid of the truck stop, we replace it with these really cool modular systems based on like a whole new architecture that I'm working on, where we now have, you know, legitimate, you know, this is the communication system of the actual station. Like this is the power plant of the actual station. So, right, all solar is being actually, you know, created, and we keep adding more modules based on what, you know, the station needs. And you know, each station will have an associate set of, you know, tanks for all of its external resources, and when it all gets, you know, added to, once we get, you know, the roughness and all the texturing and everything, I think these will look really nice. Right, so this is right, just a redo of some of the right, different concepts. As we can scale these, like this can be like one unit, it could be a little small, right? That it does bring more Galliant. Is it Galliant Catalyst vibe? Yeah, and of course it's going to have a bit more detail than this. This is just very early. Because I like even the loading, right? Like we have these loading bays, and you know, where you back up the cargo and like lock them on, and then each of these gotcha, right? So each of these little sections have a 32 by 32 storage bay. Ignore the, I don't have any connections to them, but there's enough room here, right? There's 4 meters on each side for like a forklift to grab all this cargo and bring it out into the storage on each side, right? So there's, you know, and there's 4 floors of connectivity that can happen here, right? Every one of these, you know, like systems, you know, we support pretty much 4 floors of potential, you know, connected systems. It'll be cool once it all comes together. Because the issue is that the original didn't scale. Yeah. And I'll take a look at that link here just in a second. Okay. All right, so here we are in, and by the way, this test project, or sorry, we're now officially moving back into this project. So all of the current code has now been migrated into the main project, and we're back to where we were in Unity, which is why I'm climbing the art wall again. All right, so this is the old truck stop. And the truck stop was cool, but it just, you know, it was old. It's from Unity. Remember, we're getting rid of, oh, thanks. What is that? Oh, Scott? What is it?
Hazelnut decaf.
Is what?
Hazelnut decaf.
Oh, cool.
With froth milk.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so we want to be able to store ships. So we're getting rid of all the pads, which means only the hangars are usable. And of course, we don't really care too much about these hangars anymore. Like they can't store ships. They're too thin. Right? The runes, the actual habitation module, right? That was actually spawning all the different habs. Is kind of like very integrated into commerce, and I don't really want it to be integrated into commerce. You know what I mean? I want the mall to be its own thing. The stores, right? Like we need to be able to think about how you know, a space station would be designed in like a futuristic 80s, and we want to make it as scalar as possible, you know, and easy to randomize, and right. So that's the thought process. Is this new design encompasses some of this, but we don't want all this dead space, right? No dead space. So instead, let's pull it back, flatten it, right, and do one on each side. You know, and then we'll still have all the same atmospheric feeling. It'll still be cool. It's just like it'll just be a shopping mall, and I'm going to incorporate a floor system, but you'll go into the connecting link in between, like all of these connecting links have 8x8x8 hallways in between, which can be, you know, the stairwells or elevators and vice versa, right? So there's ways of extending down the station in the connectors to make it multi-floor, right? And to add different support systems, you know, and to kind of, you know, integrate, you know, like a lower tier, right, multi-floor system where they either join or they, right, or they're like higher in the same way that they can go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be as number of units as we want. If we need to scale them, same with these, it's the same thing, right? Number of units, whatever we want to do with them. They could be tiny or big, or, you know, we could have different versions of this stuff, right? Depending on the output we want. Like I'm making a smaller version of the comm system that's just like one small satellite array, and it'll be half of the, right, half the size. So I want to be able to make these little ones that are like, that have these hangers on the ends. But then it's just creating modules, right? Creating and mixing modules that kind of make it look cool. And the way that we're going to extend this system into the Unforgiven space architecture is we're going to kind of combine both. So like, let me show you this concept in a more fleshed out system. So let me show you this preview. So this is the block system. So this is like what inspired that to exist. Just gonna wait for the shaders to do their thing. No mouse control or what? Okay, there we go. Right, so this was like early prototyping of this, where hey, if we make these 8x8x6 connected modules, we can bring through the station some really cool designs right? And whether they have like vending machines or like storage or like whatever, like, this is all randomized. But you know, at least this way, if we look at how we want the mall area to be, right? Everything all aligns. These are now going to be 8 meters, so they'll all be within 8 meters. And then how these all like connect. Like this is where I kind of initially prototyped the fact that we can do these connectors going up, and we can dynamically scale out, right, the habitation modules with much more, you know, with ease of use, right? All of this becomes, right, a little bit easier to scale, easier to generate, right? And we have these bigger 16 by 16s and 32 by 32s, right, that kind of go through to the hangars. And then because of this design, we can do some things. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here. So we can also do these like hole in the wall, you know, shops, which I really like. I think, you know, having like these smaller stations that have like kind of more, they're a little bit more sparse, you know, would be pretty cool. Give me the power to do that. And then this kind of integrates with the ring designs, right? So the idea in the future is we can still have the giant rings, whether they have hangers or not. Thinking about the medical module, these would be much bigger than this. So we'd have these core rings that would still have like, you know, like a dome with like, you know, forest or a terrain system, or like agriculture or factories, or like, you know, I still want to have the big boy rings like I do in the medical module. But these connections along the core would actually be these, right? So these can all connect together, connecting into a ring, right? And then simultaneously, like if I it's all random, then right, whatever way we want to go about it, I could either have like these sections in the ring as spires of the ring, and then we have the big rings going around. And then I also want to do connectors. So whatever the hub is in the center of the ring, I'm going to build an adapter, and it's an adapter that adapts to the right, the standard, you know, like 16 by 32, you know, multiple floor, multiple options, you know, section, and then it'll connect into the elevator, and then, you know, the regular Unforgiven space massive station rings can then connect. So at the very bottom of the stations, we can have like a connector, and a bunch of these smaller, you know, really cool like pieces of infrastructure can be kind of dynamically added. So we really get the best of both worlds, right? We can kind of create like smaller truck stops, so we can scale them up to larger stations, and we can mix and match like, you know, a smaller style, you know, hub, like a, you know, truck, space truck, what are you want to call it, like a with some smaller rings, right? So we could have a big agricultural ring, which will look cool, you know, with a more like industrial communication system, and not the one that's just, you know, a module, but maybe the rings, so like 2 or 3 rings. And then at its core, then we have our connector, and then we have a bunch of these, and the hangers and whatnot are all kind of like integrated that way, right? Or we have like a one big giant ring for the, you know, for the hangers, and then we just have all the logic in the middle, and it's just one ring, one small little floating discs. How are you planning to finalize the art? So do you intend to make modularized assets? Yeah, that's what we're doing now, or that's what I'm working on right now, is modularizing all of these pieces to make them dynamic. Yep. That's exactly the process, right? Which like on the inside, like if you look at the like the way that I was doing our clinic here, right? Ignore the purple, but the clinic is exactly that, right? All of these pieces are like kind of corners. I think like some of these corners are like 1.25, or, you know, vice versa for trim, but they're all within 1 meter sheets, right? 1 meter, 2. It's like it's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32, right? So if you know there's going to be a bunch of these together, you just use the big one. There's a variation of each, right? So this whole like module, for a clinic is modular. All these pieces are modular, right? It'll move into assets that are used with space edit, right? So if we look at right, because it's going to be all art. So let's go into space edit real quick. Right, so the idea is that space edit is used to build up the modules, and then through the modules we right, like the modules become like prefabs themselves, and then like they kind of keep scaling that way. I also want to generate like a baking process as well, where like if things are kind of finalized, and we know that like as a module, not necessarily as an individual room, right? If we've made everything and we know it's not going to change, then we write, we go through a baking process. I see. Once you work on some of the parallax texturing, it's gonna look sweet. I think so too, right? So here, like, in multiplayer, people just host a session. I don't know if you've seen Space Edit, but Space Edit is a tool where, we have all these primitives, right? Like prefab designs, and we just put in a light. I'm gonna come up one, put light right there. There we go. Yeah, right. But like Space Edit, you would have all these different wall prefabs. Now, some of these are actually already made, be only one-sided. We like actually organize this a little bit better, but you kind of get the drift, right? Like we can start placing and building up all this stuff, and making it easy to use, and this is all multiplayer friendly. So my thought process ultimately is I can build up this tooling here. Like I want this tool to be like an in-game admin editor type thing, where the idea is that like once we build up all the assets, we stream the assets in, right? And then like we can start placing assets, and then once we've placed all the assets, we can go through, we can trigger a baking process, right? And then it can ensure, and I know it's a lot of runtime stuff, but like we can ensure that the asset has like the UVs set up for like baked light maps, right? That we can, in the area, in the region of what will be a module or a room, right? Then we set up the light map GI, that we bake the light map data is stored within the prefab. There's this whole process, right? It doesn't have any global light influence or directional light influence, right? I can kind of start, I don't know, like building up this kind of more friendly unified editor structure, which we could use to kind of scale and start streaming and stuff. But the goal is ultimately to build this very no, I haven't actually checked the link yet. Hang on, I've been so in the zone with the sheer amount of stuff that we have to do. Oh, okay, so this is Catalyst from DBase. Affordable power, undeniable results. Catalyst destroyers. Is there an image of these? Affordable power, undeniable results. It's not an image link. There? No. What are these? These are actually cool. These are so close to how I envision Unforgiven spaceships. Like the bubbliness of them. What was the context? It does bring some Gillette Catalyst vibes. Race and EVE Online is like that. Oh, cool. Do they have any like images of their ships? Kaderi. It's so, I hate when wikis don't let you select text. It's very annoying. You have to like find something. Oh, I love these. Oh my god, I love these. And the idea, Astron as well, is like the game partakes in an 80s universe, but it doesn't mean there's not a lot of old junk floating around. You know what I mean? That looks kind of 60s-esque, right? Like old. I want to do a lineup of parts that are like very reliable, but they're classical. So they're kind of like they're a size -1 component that you can only find through salvage, but they're very reliable. So there's a trade-off because they're a -1 component. So they're not they're not the best weapons, they're not the best output, they're not the best. But if you find one, like they have super high reliability, they last forever, and each one has like a retrofit. Like you have to pretty much retrofit them to like fit into the item slot, which is why it's a -1 on the size. The green ones are the Galanet. I think I'm losing them out. And they're all like not really symmetrical. Ah, cool. Kind neat. Uh, Galente, Galente, French pronunciation, I think. Gotcha. Yeah. So like this brings us to now. Right now, this is why we're in Unity today. Is we want to explore a baking solution, right? Where maybe I do what I did with the ship. You know what I mean? Where I created all these normals. So like what they're doing here, because to be able to unwrap them, if we look at just wireframe alone, right? So we have more topology because they're definitely, the way that they're doing the UV selection is by having the topology in place. So it's not, super low poly. Like we're kind of still keeping things within the meter, but the benefit is within that meter. We can kind of start periodically selecting UVs from the same map. Which means like the whole station, as we can see here, is just, I don't know why the arrow keys don't work. This is driving me crazy. Why is the Windows, and if I click it, so Windows could not migrate your data. Check back after you've updated Microsoft Photos to the latest version. But if not installed. Do I not like Photos Legacy? Is Photos Legacy not what the default? No, what the hell? Just gonna nuke it and reinstall an open source image viewer or something. Yeah, what happens if I go to open an image so I don't have photos? It goes into the GIMP. Okay, 1 second. You should try the free tier of EVE Online and see how a spreadsheet and space. No. No, 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 no. No, because then I'll play it and then we'll never get the game done and there'll be no Patreon promises, there'll be no nothing. Like we can't, I'm not allowed to play EVE Online. We have a game to make, and we're really close. Like we're almost at MVP. Like I don't know if you've seen what I've been doing last while. Check this out. Let's go back into systems. I want to get rid of systems because I'm so close to. So me and Moon and Sliver, have two new Patreons, and they've been going crazy with the testing. Like they've been just testing and testing and testing. It's been wild, like the sheer amount of stuff we've knocked out. And this is now like, let me just show you what we can now do. And I've tested this with Moon. So we have like all of the like infrastructure in place now for like the accounts and everything. So this is what I've done. So I think this is gonna be like really cool because like there's not much left to get working, and we're kind of playing the game. So let's move this over, move this one over. Let's go to the player. Okay, so let me just host a local session here. Right, so we have, boom, here we are. All the NPC stuff is now working as well. NPCs get hunger, thirsty, they do their thing, they go about their pathfinding, but they'll actually like go to their house, go to the rooms and rest. Right, that's what they're doing now. They're still kind of going all over the place. But check this out. So on Revere this time, I'm going to go online instead, and I'm going to log in with my Unforgiven Space account. Right, and now I'm actually logged in, and now I'm going to go multiplayer, and now I'm going to join as Revere. But this time I'm actually logged in online. So we're going to join on the second player, just locally, just like directly. Okay, so I'm now in. There's my other player. We've seen all this before. Nothing's crazy. We have Pool. So Pool's now in the game and fully working. Right, so you've probably seen this, before. It's in the build. So right now we have these little smaller social experiences that we can kind of do. I'm gonna try not to fail at doing this, but I can't really see. But there we go. Ooh. Are we gonna be high? Are we gonna be high? Are we gonna be high? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, wait, what did I think? Okay, we're still high. Gravity is really low, of course, which means the friction and stuff like that is kind of, oh my god, I'm doing amazing. Anyway, so, here's me. I don't know why it says Revere, it's because I'm still, I didn't change the name, but this is the fake Revere. But check this out. So now, if I head over to Habitation, where fake Revere is, this is the real online account. Right, so I can see Rav's place. If I go over here on this account, right, I don't see Rav's place. I don't have anything on this account. Right, but I can now, log in, unlock my own room. It now spawns in on the server. All my furniture is now working. So I can like totally, customize this now, save it, lock it and unlock it, invite my friends over. The system works, right? And what's cool is we were testing this with multiple Patreon members. So like Moon came in and the Moon spawned in his, and it took the next available slot. So we had like my place and then Moon and then Sliver. And as we were despawning and locking them, of course, they just kind of free those slots. But like we actually, each person could now spawn in all of their own items. And we could, actually go and buy, a bunch of different furniture items, and put them in the ship or put them in the habitation module, and it all works. But, that led me down the rabbit hole. Actually, let's just go and despawn this real quick. All right, cool. So I wanted to go further with it, and get the other furniture items in the game. So I started converting them over to Greybox, to like a low poly version. So I made like a really low poly version of the couch, low poly version of the bar stool. I didn't. Low poly version of the bar. Like I like making low poly versions of everything so I can get it all working here. But I'm like, what? Why are we doing this? This all works. Everything works. You know what I mean? The prison system works. We're good. You know what I mean? Let's get out of here. You know what I mean? Let's push the build into Unforgiven space. You know, let's start. You know, let's go. Right. Let's start back here again, where we were in Unity, where everything is final art. Let's actually. I'm still gonna keep doing builds of the Unforgiven systems because that is where all the logic of the game is. But these will be one-to-one parity now. Like I'll just, if I'm gonna be working on assets in the future, you know, I only need one version of it in gray box for the sake of testing the mechanic of it. But yeah, we can just finish it and put it in the game and just play the game. So I'm very happy that you know, very soon, right? Like we'll have the game being this, you know what I mean? Like actual final art, actually looking good, you know, being a thing. Right, so this is now, you know, going to be, I guess you're going to call it like what I'm going to be working on now is we're going to be we're working towards, I guess, the visual slice of the game. It's not necessarily a total vertical slice, but I want to polish enough content to make a really good trailer of the work we've done over the last year and a half, right? Like I want to show like what the game is all about in a better visual way, and I want to I kind of want to do like it'd be like a devlog, no mirror reflection, game breaking. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately there's no ray tracing in Godot, and you could, you know, you could get away with like a reflection probe, but you know, it's yeah, it's not the best, but it's kind of, it is what it is. The mirror inside the not worth it, it's not. But to your you know, like, yeah, I know, but there will be, right? So there's a render texture. Oh, it's not working because I have everything put over, but there's a render texture here for the rear view camera. There is going to be a render texture in the mirror for the actual so we're gonna have like a really, oh, the gravity's being weird. Just, yeah, a lot of this is not working now since, right? So it's kind of, it's been a bit wonky to have the zone system in, but let's just go back to the. So the way that this mirror is going to work is we're gonna slap like a reflection probe here, a square one, and this is gonna be super shiny. So you'll see like the reflection of this in screen space, like here. I don't know if my mouse shows up. It does. Okay, good. But when you walk into the area, there's a area 3D here. This will become a render texture with a camera. So it'll still, hey Sarah, it'll be a reflection, but it's going to be a render texture. It's just going to be a, you know what I mean, a literal camera, right, giving us the reflection. Because I do want to be able to, you interact with this, and you get to the character outfitting the screen, where you can change your clothes and your civvies and all that stuff. Like the whole point of the shower is a quick way of swapping out gear and swapping out your clothes you're wearing and things like that. Otherwise, you got to do it while you're on the station, and that's like this, like these little modules here. There's a module for food, but there's also a module that's just like a storage rack, which gives you personal storage, and the personal storage, hey Pagan, is what you actually access. Yeah. Pagan, I have all of the habitation stuff actually working. So yeah, so this is so the goal now is I want all of these new modules, the prison module and stuff, integrating with the new, you know, the new stations, the new station modules, and you know, when it all comes together, it's gonna be cool. They are fancy. right? So I don't like when I realized I didn't actually get the habitation module actually working. So we need to get that one. I think we're gonna go like hallway, and then the habitation modules kind of go left and right. So it brings you out a little bit. Right, so we have like integrate a lot of the stuff into the design. So anyway, like that's the you know, the TLDR of what we're doing. You're right, and the goal is to get rid of this system completely and switch it over to the new one. We don't do any of that anymore. It's been so long, Peggy. Let me give you. Just go to Sliver. Sliver would be the. Yeah, there we go. Copy line. We have a launcher, and the launcher does everything. So the launcher, I'll just do an example here. So if I go to the Unforgiven Space launcher, the launcher, you just log in. We have our different, once you log in the Patreon this time, and you allow it, we have two builds. The systems build is the one we're testing for testing. We don't have the live build updated yet. This will automatically patch Unforgiven systems, and then you're playing. Like, so the gateway to being able to test the builds is stupidly fast, right? There's no more messing around now that we have the launcher. And then what I recommend, so by default, it's C drive apps Unforgiven space. You can change it, but we even have what we've done with like myself and Sliver came up with this idea. Actually, Sliver kind of helped, but we now actually assign each build. So each build's version is actually the last commit on the GitHub. So the commit that, you know, the commit that actually or the commit version, the commit ID number or whatever, you know, of the build is now the minor or the current minor, so 000 whatever, because it's only the commit. But in future it's going to be, you know, date and then commit. So it'll be like the version's going to be like 2025 112 318, right? So but you know, this last, you know, number is always just going to be the current commit. So we've been able to very quickly check to make sure that we're all in sync, and you know, and that we're able to you know, that we're all in the same build. And then when you log in, it shows like what build you're on. So this has been super, like, you know, like, I don't know, it's been great. Like I can, and what's cool is if I'm doing a build, so while I'm playing, like I'll have Sliver and Moon in Discord, and I'll be working on changes, and then I'll literally push a build live immediately, and then because they're still logged in, they just click update. So we're literally playing the game. It will automatically push a build. Oh, it's because I'm running it. 1 second. So you just close out, rerun update. It just downloads the latest patch, patches it, boom, go back in. And I pretty much have the pipeline set up now where it's like the second I do a build, the server, all of the deployment of the actual test server auto restarts as well. So like the second I do a build, the server kicks everyone, the server restarts, the build gets updated, and you literally just close the build, click update, new build comes down, you jump back in the build, and you know what I mean? And that's how we've been able to, like, so I have a whole new repo. Like we have repos that monolithic, then we just log in. I'll show you this. We have our own I have my own revision control system with GitHub Actions, or the equivalency of GitHub Actions. So now like I can see like 318 is the commit, right, that we're currently on, and like we now have like all of this also now goes. We're not even done yet. Let me show you. So let's go to Unforgiven space. So when I'm doing my builds now, we used to have the tracker for the project management, but now we actually have changes. So these are the actual builds. And on days where I'm sitting here with Moon, like in Sliver, it'll just be the whole night of like push, vehicle camera, add the input, basic ladder, like it just be push, 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 push. So these are the actual, GitHub commits. Now people on the Discord don't have access to bringing these up specifically, but when I click on them, because I have access to the repo here within the studio, I can see exactly what I changed, like on this commit, and what was deleted, what was updated. It was like a 3 week ago thing, but my goal now is I'm going to be integrating the issue system. We're going to be moving the issue system out of ClickUp and integrating the issues that you will report in game, so that the launcher is going to have a bug reporting system built into the launcher, so that when the game crashes, it can enable itself and auto push the crash results of the log. So the launcher can now capture the Godot log and just serialize it, like just compress it and push it, as metadata to a bug report that can happen automatically, like what happened when this crashed. But we'll also be able to report regular bugs as well. And the idea is that when we do these bugs, the cool thing is the launcher knows what version of systems we're on, and it knows what commit we're on. So when we do a bug report, it knows which player is logged in, right? So I can make it automatically on the API side be like, Pagan creates an issue from build, that was created from commit 316, that blah 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 blah, like whatever the bug is, whatever the screenshot is, whatever the data is, whatever the crash report is, that gets automatically added straight into the repo as an issue. And then when something closes the issue in the repo itself, then I know who reported it. And it can be like that person can also be accredited to reporting the bug. And like when I do the update, the idea is I want to do eventually I want to do all of the patch notes specifically from the commits, right? So because I'm too scatterbrained, like I'm too busy focusing on building the game, right? That like a lot of this, like I just want to be able to take all of this information, right, and feed it in the AI and have it summarize like what the actual changes were, and then automatically post into the patch notes like what the actual update is when we do like a build. So like I just keep doing builds and I keep pushing it, and it will keep generating patch notes from whatever's squashed or from whatever is in between, what we've been doing. So that's like the long term, like process of why I'm doing all this, right? So for now, it's just so Sliver can just help test fast, right? So it solves that problem. We had to go to GitHub anymore. I don't have to, right? Like I just, you just log into your Patreon account. We know you're Patreon, so we trust you, right? You can now update, does this thing. It's busy because it must have a game running again. Oh, let's download it. Okay, boom. So I hope that's useful, right? Like we think it's game changing in the way that we test the game. Well, it has been game changing. I've been able to get a lot of stuff done with the work that I've done. So. But I love pipelines. I love DevOps. I mean, it's kind of what I do at my day job, but like, I don't know. There's something about DevOps I just really enjoy, and building pipelines, and building up automation and testing, and I don't know. And I truly believe that if you create a really robust pipeline and you're able to kind of like ship fast and fail fast, like the faster you can fail, the faster you can create a better solution. So it's like, how fast can you push it right out the window, so that someone can be like, so that somebody can pick it apart, right? Because the faster it can fail, the faster you can make it better. If you're just spending forever working on it, and you're not getting that player feedback, and you're not able to keep doing builds, you're not able to, then you're just stagnating, you know. So it's got to be build, 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 build. You know, the only person who's ever going to give you the right information is going to be the users. You know, the players that want this game to be real. Right? You can't trust yourself. You can't trust. You know. I don't know. So, Pagan, in the future, is going to be like the Unforgiven space build will be a thing too. Just right. That's what we're kind of chatting about, right? I need to redo the we got to finish these stations, right? Like that's going to be the focus. Is getting these like exported as their own thing. And I don't know, like none of this is finalized. You know, it's just I just got to get them out there. we're gonna start getting some of this stuff extracted and put into the build so we can start playing around with it. What is the lattice work for? It's just to give it a sense of scale, right? And will be a mounting piece for the. We actually want these. They kind of end up being offset by 8. This. But yeah, it's just meant to be like we're gonna have all this different like external mounted tanks and stuff like that. Hey, Bear. We're working on the station stuff, so I don't know. I think I was showing this off on the, but I need to learn something from Unity. So in Unity, if you see by all of this mesh, so you know what they're doing is they're actually like intentionally keeping 1 meter subdivisions, so everything is like within 1 meter. And they're doing that because for this particular material, if we just go back to, we'll do shaded wireframe because it won't look that good in shaded wireframe, but you'll kind of see what I mean. So all of this lovely detail that we're seeing here is pretty much all in these Atlas textures, right? So what they've done is they very cleverly, right, this kind of gets smaller, like the slope changes over time. These are all unwrapped in a very specific way, utilizing these Atlas textures. So you see like this whole set right here is sampled from one region of all the different possible shapes. And then this one's another kind of region but overlapping in a different set. And this is the same set, just the UVs are flipped. Same again. So you have like all of this cool like sheer amount of variance, including all the grunge and stuff. But if you really look at this, right, this is the material, right? I can change this to whatever color I want because none of it is done in the albedo at all, right? These are all normal maps, right? So let's just go into the guy here. So these are all normal and detail maps. So we have a detail map for right, for dirt. And this is what I'm doing with my ships, right? My ships are the same concept, just they've optimized. Sure. So like here's the dirt map. So the dirt map is additively added, right? So that's what we're seeing here for the detail. Let's go back. Okay, so back to the Atlas. So here's the normal. So these are 8K normals, right? So the cool thing is there's so much detail here, right, in this 8K normal, that when you're being clever, like if you want one edge here, but only one edge, you can intentionally stop at like this point, you know what I mean? And then when you're picking the next set, right, like you can kind of like use this, like let's say you have a smooth surface coming along, you know what I mean? Like when you're doing your UV selection, you can intentionally leave off these corners and you can, you know what I mean? Like you start getting like a ton of cool shit you can do with the same Atlas. And then matching, you know, the normal Atlas is of course the metallic and the so it's all one atlas, all one giant. I'm just gonna go find the AO here. Yeah, so let's look at the ambient occlusion. Sure. Right, so these are like, this is all part of the ambient occlusion. So in other words, hey Bendy, if I go ahead and bake out one giant 8K atlas, right, and we do all of the design, you know, and everything in the atlas, right, like everything from different types of panels with all the detail, right, and kind of you know, we can bake them all out into one texture, right? So we have like 20 megabytes, you know, 8K texture, kind of big, you know, 8K texture is pretty big. VRAM compressed, probably not so bad. But the takeaway is we get everything, right? Like if you just go back to shaded here and just undo, all done. And let's just go back out of here, right? Like, so all of this detail that we're seeing here, right? Like this is easily recreated, right? Using this technique of using like an atlas texture set. And so that's what we need to do now to make these have the correct sense of scale, right? Other than the fact that they're massive and, you know, they have all the shops inside them and everything else. You know, we need to actually make this look good, right? And be modular and scalar, and so all of this will be sampling pretty much from the same materials. So hopefully that's pretty clear, right? Now, and I don't know how they ultimately got to this point, you know, like you can kind of do these individually, and then kind of see what you know, bake out all these individually as normals, and you can see kind of what works well, and then you can kind of like put it all together, and then like scale it up until you get to that point. But so the goal is like for let's go into main game so I can, you know, show you. Like this weekend, I'm going to be like hyper focusing on this, on this pipeline stuff. Because for performance, Bear, like I don't even want to use line. I don't even want to use like label 3Ds, right? I want to use UVs. I want to sample stuff. I want to, you know, like really, like, I want to render the whole station. You know what I mean? Like with, you know, just a selection of materials. Like we should be able to just, right, like, you know, create a couple of different versions in memory of the same set of shaders. Ad break, no. Right, so here is the actual main game now. Let me know, Bear, when you're done the ad break. And Bear, if you're not following on YouTube, I highly recommend also checking out the YouTube link as well. Got to get the YouTube up to, I don't know, 500 subs or something like that to actually start really pushing it. That goes for anyone if you guys want to follow me on YouTube or where we are multi-streaming. But yeah, Bear, as soon as the ads are over, will you target any other platform other than PC? Don't know. I don't know Godot's porting process. Right. So Bear, like we're gonna be moving to the main project now. We're moving away from systems. So let me like everything in Unforgiven space. If we go to the interior here, I'll show you this real quick here. Just I've already done all this before, right? If I go into the design or go into the interior, let's find the interior. But right, all of these panels right? They are just a plane, right? They're just a plane, and they have, right, just a normal map, right? All of this is pretty much nothing but normals, right? Everything in here, they're all normals. But the issue is they're 2K normals. Defend 2K is kind of like the best, ratio of clarity. Um, I didn't want to go any less detailed than 2K normals. But if you're gonna be loading it all on GPU anyway, like if we're just going to have multiples of these, right? So these take up 2K material, 2K normals, with compression, in the red, green, blue channel with 11 MIPS, 5.3 megabytes, right? So if we instead, now that we kind of like, once we know exactly what variations of different normals we want, if we change all of this to 8K normals, or but put all of the ships, right? Because by going 8K, we get, you know what I mean? We get 4x4, so we get every single variation of these panels, including the child variations, like the half width ones. So there's smaller ones, right, that take up 1/2, and there's also some bigger ones, right? But we can bring those in, right? Some of the 2x2 normals can really be like half of the resolution, and we can scale them up, with the UVs, right? So so then we pretty much have, because 2K, yeah, so it'd be a 4x4, so we'll get 16 tileable normals in one texture. So the idea being, if you can set these up in a way where you have all these different variations, like some of these guys, right? Like these guys here, a lot of these are variations of each other, right? Especially some of these smaller connectors, right? Like these are all, we bring them up here, right? Like this is kind of a variation, and in reality, because these are mirrored, we really only need half of this data, because we can flip the UVs and flip them around or whatever. Hey Revere, what Windows app would you suggest for programming C++? Just Visual Studio itself. And there's a whole rabbit hole of what you want to get going. So for I wrote a game engine called Raven. Raven is a Vulkan renderer, and normally I just use VS Code, but for doing stuff like Raven, I find Visual Studio to be way more, if you're gonna get into actual, really, so what's the last build for? I'm not fine Raven. Probably don't have any of the. Oh, I don't have the Vulkan. I don't have any of my Vulkan runtime stuff installed. Yeah. Right. So this was my Vulkan renderer I was working on. I don't want to do gaming, just simple coding. I still recommend probably just good old-fashioned Visual Studio, 2020 Enterprise Edition. But just because Visual Studio for C++ has a lot more, it's just easier. Because you can just go into Visual Studio installer, right? And then you can you can automatically, it'll set up CMake for you, right? So if you go down here and you just do C++ development, so we won't do game dev. I selected game dev for C++, but you could do mobile development with C++, desktop development with C++, but just the desktop development with C++ is going to give you all of the profiling tools. It's going to give you CMake. I think it will do. Let's see. Right, we just all the runtime stuff. Let me just see. Can I just see what's in here? But either way, the idea being, it just helps you install everything that you need, right? Because you'll need CMake or vice versa, whatever. It all depends on what version of C you're dealing with. But I find this is the best way of just setting everything up. because at least it'll set up CMake and it'll set up like some of the build stuff for you, and then you can just kind of go crazy. Because I think the hardest part with C++ is actually you know, like just getting everything working, getting all the dependencies set up. And that's the other thing, like here, like in the project settings here alone, like I have no idea how I would set up all of this in just Visual Studio, because I got to go into my linker here. Hang on, let me. So like, you have to set up external files, linker. Yeah, so like all of your dependencies, right? So like the Vulkan library, all of this, right? You have to like set up manually, and it's annoying. So I find Visual Studio, you can't really go wrong, if you're going to get into like C++ development, right? And if you want to get into like, further, go into like game development, or, building engines or shaders, or, whatever you want to do. That's my recommendation. Just because like VS Code is wonderful for C#, because it's like .NET runtime's installed and you're just good to go. But like at work, as an example, like I don't use Visual Studio Code at work, but I love Visual Studio Code when I'm not working, because it's lighter and I have all the profiling stuff that I need for the game, because I'm only just pretty much attaching to the Godot engine and I'm just profiling it and doing whatever I need to do, right? So I don't need the bloat of like running Visual Studio, but in this case, I do, right? So it just depends on what you're doing. But if I was new, just Visual Studio for C++, right? Just to make it simple for yourself. Don't make it complicated, right? So my thought process is like, because I only have so many variations, we're gonna move the two big boys. We're going to kind of rebake some of these as like 2K, some of the smaller ones as 1K normals, and we're going to do like trim sheets so that like the entire ship interior is one material, right? So that's going to be the goal, right? It'll still be like, I mean, these are the same material on a lot of these stuff for modules. Anyway, like all this inside, like this is one plasticky material, like we're already kind of doing this. All of these are the same materials anyway. All this stuff, but we want to add edgeware, and we want to add like noise, and like we want to add grunge and stuff. So we want to be able to increase the detail, but uniformly, right? And for a lot of like all of this coming around and all this edgeware that we would create would be the exact same amount that would be on the top of the bottom one, right? So we can use the same kind of textures and just be clever in our UV mapping. So the downside is there might be like extra topology, because we might have to add like, where this one cuts in half in the center, which it doesn't right now, right? We'd have to do the same thing kind of here, right? So that way all of this here would be like the same UVs tiled going down. And then we sample the same area that this is using, right? And this is using a mirrored UV, the top and bottom. So we get all of the edgeware coming along, all the scratches and everything. So this is like, I don't know what to call what I'm doing right now, but I'm just designing how I want to do this workflow. Like, how do I want to pipeline this? Because I don't want to just take all of these into Substance and just create all of these hundreds of individual materials. I want to go into Substance and do these generic edgeware effects, and then use what gets generated from that Substance texture back into Blender, where I can start applying it to many things, right? So we kind of, we kind of do, like all of this edgeware could be, we could start off with one of these, right? Like, add a kind of a cut it in half, right? Go into Substance, create all the edgeware, create all the detail, bring it back into Blender, and now use that same texture, and same kind of wrap UVs with all the extra, fill. We can actually just start using this for everything. All of this stuff is the same, right? It's the same shape. It's got the same corners, right? They're just different versions, right? They're all the same. And then like for, like the edgeware here, right? Just adding the grunge and the grime, and we can use some stencil buffers, or not stencil buffers. We can use some, like another couple of layers of textures, because all of this is flat anyway. Like none of this is real. It's all nothing, right? And we can add kind of like a lot more trim sheets to create extra grunge, almost like decals, right? We could do like custom decals of dirt and like different things, grime, and I don't know. So like, because we need to get this to a vertical slice, right? We got to get to we need to get to what I call a visual slice. I don't know how to get there. I'm only talking to random people, just planning. But like, I think this looks cool, but I think this is nothing like how the ship is going to look when we're done. I think the ship's going to look amazing, and we need to apply the same concept to these stations, right? Like that's the. I wish I really had another artist, because I want to, like, we can't just use this, color everywhere. You know what I mean? Like we need to figure out how to do paneling that works well for the interiors, right? Thanks for the follow, Nick Fluffy. Welcome to the convoy. So we have to get this right? We can't put a lot of time into this with it not being right? Like let me just show you some of the like I know with materials I can be a pretty good artist. Like if you look at the bar as an example, like this is like how I envision stuff to be, right? Like I know like once things have materials and they have form, like I can start to see, like my brain like knows what the hanging lights are going to look like here, and it knows like what the bar lights are going to be, and like I have an idea. You know what I mean? Like it's so dumb. It's dumb to see this stuff so clearly in your own brain and not be able to express it in a way, like like the way that I want it, because I want one side to be like a dining area, so we'd have our like little tuck away kind of food areas, and I want these to be modular as well. Like I want, like, wherever I'm creating diners, I can, I'll use these same I'm gonna call them like booths, but I want to have a section of booths and tables where you would kind of eat some grub, but it is a bar, right? So you have like an open kind of dance area, place to go get your alcohols, and we'll have all of our cool alien liquors and stuff. And right, like over here it'll be like dart boards and a few other things, right? We need to widen all of this out, because we need to create like metrics for everything. So there's now 8-meter small stores. There's 16, 24, and 32. So we have variations, right? And then up here on the top floor, we're going to have like poker and a few other things be played. So there's these cool mini games, right? But I want it to be like kind of dark, but like just lit by the different lighting of the like pool and the bar lights. So all of this gets a lot darker other than the lights, right? All of this is only lit because there's underglow. There'll be like lighting kind of shining down, right? Because it's reflective. Same with the bar. So the bar will have like a light ring underneath it, right? That'll kind of light, right, the surface area of the bar, which will show like all the different, kind of the drinks and a few other things. So like I think it'll be cool like when it's done, right? I want to have chains coming down with big ship engine. I know that's cliche to Star Citizen, but I thought it's a really cool idea, right? Like it's kind of what people do in bars like Montana's and stuff. It'd be kind of neat, right? Have some ship components be shown, like you know, and kind of right, I just need to create some bathrooms and a few other things, and then the bar is kind of complete. But you know, it's starting to look the way that I want it to look, but it's you know what I mean. So quick question: do you make the props assets in Blender? Yeah. Everything gets made in Blender and then gets imported into Godot. Yeah, that was one of the early lessons, right? Like when dealing with stuff in Unity, and making materials in Unity, you know, like it becomes like the more you rely on like a game engine, the less agnostic things are. So if you're able to have it all in Blender, then you can export it to FBX. You can throw it in Unreal. You can throw it in Unity. You can export it to GLTF. You can throw it in Godot. You know, you can work, you know, with whatever game engine you want. You know, it's a little bit easier, right, for you to scale what you're working on. You know, so I have like, you know, like most all the props and everything I've made for the ships and everything, they're all Blender. So I'd say, you know, 80% of my time, a lot of it is spent, you know, in Blender making, you know what I mean, these assets. And I'm using like just planes here. Like you can make a lot of you know, quick shortcuts, right? So and here's the final version, right? So I have the this is like more high detail. You can kind of see it's still only a plane. I'm just you know, adding a solidify modifier to it, right? But it works perfect. Just this got way too much topology. Like this was made when I was, I don't know, gaining a bit more experience, but you know, maybe not enough experience to know what I don't need, you know. So I put a lot of resolution into this. It doesn't matter. Like you can't tell the difference between this one and this one for the most part when you're standing back here, you know. So little things like that. So like you can get away with a lot less topology. And the only thing, like I would probably harden these normals. I left them a little bit loose, kind of intentionally, because it gives it kind of a little bit of a bubble, right? But it's not necessarily how this chair was kind of supposed to be designed. But it's not wrong either, right? It's supposed to be kind of more true to this. But you know, little things like that are really no big deal. They're not important. Right, so now, yeah, it's but yeah, so that's what I'll do, right? And then this will end up going into the game engine, and then in the game engine, you know, it'll look like this, you know. So this is that bar, but the bar is not finished, you know. So I haven't like finished importing everything. I've just set up my lighting and, you know, volumetric fog, and just get a feel for how it lights things in the dark. Right. Same thing here, right? Just getting the global illumination from the light. I mean, it's very like it's so like the things that I'm testing here are so dumb. Like it's just, you know, it's just intentional. Like what does this emission look like? You know, with it like with screen space or voxel based global illumination, right? Like when I'm looking around, because everything in my game is going to be very cyberpunky, right? It's going to be dark, so we're relying on, you know, global illumination, and we're relying on reflection probes, and we're relying on a lot of the emissions, right, to create the tone, right, like that's around the player. So like, you know, if I move into the light here, right, character looks totally normal, right? Move back into the shadow, right? It's not the shadow that I'm really worried about. It's this, right? I want to see like how can I make things, you know, feel, you know, like different levels of tones and stuff. To me personally, when it comes to video games, I like more about gameplay of video games. When they say a video game like having 4K graphics, running at max resolution of 4K native at blah, but yeah, 120 FPS or more. To me, as a gamer, as long as the game is fun and stable, whether it's like 30 or 60 FPS, doesn't have any, game breaking bugs or glitches. Sure, you can't play the game, play the game or play the campaign. Yep. I think everyone is more akin to the gameplay for the most part. You know what I mean? That's why games like what's it called? Schedule 1. That's why Schedule 1 is so good. Because Schedule 1 is good. You know what I mean? Like, it's got pretty basic graphics. Like, it looks kind of like a lot of synth art assets. But it's super fun. You know what I mean? It's engaging and right, like, and all of that is awesome. So I think for most people, they mostly just care about like how well the game runs and like how fun it is and I kind of think like it's one of the things I kind of like. I don't know if I could say I like it, but the fact that Godot doesn't have ray tracing and is more classical in a lot of its rendering techniques, like it's kind of in some ways it's a little bit less modern. Like their material system is kind of somewhere in between URP and HDRP, on Unity. It's got PBR materials and they're pretty good. It's got like displacement. It supports a lot of similar like functionality. But we don't have ray tracing. We don't have DLSS. We're kind of like relying on old school performance. Like just rasterization and game just being good. Hopefully. So it's kind of neat. It's more true to the original ways of doing things. I don't see it as being a negative. Like I think it'd be cool to have like some of this stuff like ray tracing and whatnot. But I don't think it should be a focus. Anyway, we're gonna get baking, but I just wanted to kind of show off some of the stuff and just chat, right? Because all these ideas are important to me. Because yeah, art's a huge wall. But I also like different types of gameplay. I like different types of gameplay types and art styles of video games, and I suppose to be working on tweaking a character movement in FPS template in Unreal Engine. Okay, that's what you're working on now. That's cool. But I am playing a video game. But I am playing a video game instead and supporting one best friend Twitch stream, listening to his and yours Twitch stream, and I'm getting distracted. You should probably go and work on it. Yeah, I guess that's gonna be kind of the question now, is how do we want to go about yeah, it's not gonna get done watching someone. I had to go, buddy. Talk to you later. Have a good one, Pagans. Good seeing you. I'm out the game or game dev. I don't know. I'll see you later, bro. I'll probably pop in your Discord after just to say hi. Some co-working or whatnot. So we need some edging. We only want one edge. Yeah, so we really want some type of normal. So we'll do, let's inset. Why does it go away? I don't want a keyframe. 0.9, 0.1. And then let's do this. And then this should be that's good. 0.025. So 0.05 wide, which is a fine gap. And then we only need to do this one at a time, so let's get rid of these. So this will be 4 units. So this will give us our edge. Because these are normals, 0.025. We'll do 6. Shift B, 0.025. Sure. Mhm. Yeah, I wonder if we want to actually make that a little bit less. I don't know. Mm. Yeah, it's smaller. So what we do want the panels to be beveled. don't know why the scale of Blender is so weird. It's not supposed to be automatically. go play with something real quick? Hmm. They want to kind of wrap these around. I wonder how I'm going to try to do that. Yeah, we don't really want this middle. Yeah, this needs to be separated. All of this. Yeah, so that should be separated now. So this one will have totally different material on the inside. And then we can just kind of deal with how this one, I guess none of this matters. Okay, so that's 8 meters. Yeah, I think these panels should be like 2 meters big. Yeah, why don't these guys here do anything?
И швидко поїнок чи ходно.
Yeah, maybe we just don't put. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna read something here in a bit. I'm gonna play around with this. I've never done like crazy, unreal, like, you know. I haven't done like a bunch of UV unwrapping before, so it's gonna be interesting trying to get this like wrapped around this. If I find someone to raid, and we'll play around with this. And end it here on the YouTube. Okay, let's go see Aaron.